Hi, welcome to another episode of Spirituality with a Twist, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of spirituality and science. I'm your host, Mithilesh, and today we have a very special guest who has dedicated his life to helping others discover their highest selves through the power of meditation. Our guest today is Sanjib Nandi, the creator of LUVO app, a meditation guide who has spent years exploring the science behind vibrational meditation and its benefits. He shares his own personal journey from a pharmacist to meditation expert and explains how mindfulness and manifestation can help us live healthy, happy, and successful life. Throughout this episode, we dive deep into practical techniques for discovering our true potential, unlocking our highest selves. From the comfort of our homes, we explore the power of the mind and the connection between science and spirituality. So get ready to be inspired by Sanjeev's message of hope and mindfulness, because this is Spirituality with a Twist. So, first of all, Sanjeev, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Mithilesh. I'm very much excited to share my information with your listeners.
So, our listeners are already aware of what you do and what have you created, but they don't know the Sanjeev, the personally. So, take us way back because you lived in India for a long period of time before moving to where you are right now. Take us back to your childhood a little bit. What were you like then, and how does this journey in finance or, sorry, in pharmacist and all this started? So tell us about that.
Wow, that's a very great question. And I lived in India for 26 years, and I studied my pharmacy in India. And after finishing my pharmacy degree in India in 2000, I started working in India for a couple of years. And after working for a couple of years, I was not happy with the journey or with the way my career was moving. So I was looking for a better opportunity. So that led me to, go to London. And I was fortunate enough to get a visa, and I went there. I lived there and worked there for 5 years. And I had the opportunity to work with different people in a foreign environment. So that is the first exposure outside India. And uh, and once I have that exposure, and after 5 years, again, my life was not going the way I wanted it to go. I will not say I was ambitious as a child, but definitely, I'm from a class family. So I definitely wanted to be rich and successful, which kind of, propels me to work harder. So as my life, after 5 years became stagnant in London, I was looking for a better opportunity so that I can grow much more, which led me to, apply for a visa in the United States. And I was fortunate enough to get my visa in 2008. And I was able to come here. Again, it was not an easy journey because my pharmacy degree is not valid in the United States. So I have to write 4 exams to convert my pharmacy degree, which is equivalent to the United States. And I have to write the TOEFL exam. And the standards in the United States was very high. Like I
That
have to
time when
write,
you that time when you
yes,
came.
yes. And I have to write that exams, 12 times to get it cleared. Most of the people might be disappointed, or they will, think, okay, this is not a piece of cake, or I just wanted to leave it. But I was not that kind of person. If I, think I wanted to do something, I pursue it. And, eventually I was able to clear it. So it took me around 2 years to finish everything. And I become a pharmacist in 2010. I'm working as a pharmacist from then to now. So it's being a journey which is definitely filled with a roller coaster ride, because when I was growing up, I was a very average kid. I did not have any special talents, and I did what my teachers told me to do. I listened to my parents, what they expected me to do. I did what was generally expected from a son, from a student. But uh, I think, I started growing more from 2017, when I, started to self-transform myself. So that has exponentially changed my life to a different trajectory. And, I think, I, I definitely believe that, circumstances in your life, helps you to make yourself a better person. Because, I was faced with a difficult situation. And as you're aware that, we learn when we struggle, or, we learn when we are in a situation which is painful, which is hard. And then you start, either you have to grow from that situation, or you can just, bog down yourself and just, take the situation as it is. So it is, very fruitful. And I think, I'm blessed, and I'm happy with the journey which I have taken. And I wake up every single day inspired to do something which is new in my life. Some way I can inspire, my friends, my son, those who are connected to me, so that they can live a life which is worth living.
So, with the journey you had, I'm going to ask you two questions. So, first of all, you said you had to write the degree 12 times, like for the exam, you have to give it 12 times again. So, how long did it took you to do that?
It took me around 6 to 8 months, because I was able to write that exam anytime.
But
And it was
why did you decided to move to the US? Because I think UK is still a pretty good country, pretty good pay, and it's whenever we hear about the UK, it has a pretty good health industry, more better than the US. Would often hear that UK has a really high quality healthcare industry. So why did you decide you had to go to the US though?
So when I was living in London, the job opportunities are less. London is a small place. Economy is definitely better. Their, pounds is definitely, has a high value. But job-wise, the job, market is very less, because, the country is very small. In spite of, they are financially very secure. So, to have a better job, I wanted to move to a place where, the growth is exponential. That led me to, apply for United States. And again, it was an opportunity which came in my way. And, I was lucky enough to get the visa.
So how did you first become interested in meditation, and what led you to pursue it as a practice?
So again, it's a very long story, but so from 2013 to 2016, I was struggling in my life because of the situation which was beyond my control. Each passing day, I was drowning more and more in the negative state of mind. And I was thinking maybe, somebody, or, somebody else, God, is going to help me. And, I went to India a couple of times to find a solution to the problem. But I was not able to find any, solution. And each passing day, I was getting more depression, anxious. And there comes a point, where that this is the rock bottom. And I knew that, I have to do something. From that stage, as I've come from India, which is, the Eastern philosophy, and I've heard about meditation, as my mind was very restless, I thought, why shouldn't I try meditation, which might, be able to calm my restless mind? That led me to, start meditation. And, eventually I was able to, find peace and happiness through meditation. But, I have never decided in my life that, I will ever do meditation. It was never in the agenda. It was because I was left with no choice. And, when you are left with no choice, you start, experiment with different
With
things. So that
small or big
that is what
things.
happened.
Yeah. So you tried many things. You, as you mentioned, that you got to India, tried many things. Maybe, what people do, but it didn't work out. Then you tried this simple, because I would call it a really simple thing that doesn't come to the mind often, because meditation is like you think, oh, it's a really simple thing, but how it has changed your life. And maybe that's why you tried it at the last, when you just hit the rock bottom, like, okay, this is the last option. Let's try that too. I've tried everything, you know, that was it. But what are the some of the initial challenges you faced when you starting your meditation practice, and how did you overcome them? Because maybe, yeah, you had this Eastern background with you, which kind of helps with the, I think, philosophy and knowing that meditation more than the Western counterpart. But still, there must be some initial challenges when you start doing meditation as a practice. How did you overcome them?
So, with anybody, what is meditation basically? So, meditation is a form of exercise tailored specifically for your brain. Now, when we go to school or colleges, nobody teaches us how to concentrate, because we know what we are trying to do is, concentrate on one thing. It might be an object, place, thing, or just on your breath. And nobody has taught us how to concentrate or how to focus, because that is what is lacking. Then our mind becomes restless because we are not able to focus on any particular thing. And the same thing happens, when I started initially meditating. I was not able to, focus. I was not able to concentrate on one thing for a long time. And by default, our brain is made like that. It cannot concentrate on one thing for a long time, and it cannot concentrate on multiple things at the same time also. So again, it's all about training your mind to focus on the things which you wanted, because focus and concentration is indispensable for success in any walk of your life. You can be a scientist, you can be a professor, you can be a student, you can be a podcaster. You need, focus and concentration to accomplish your goals. So what meditation has done to me, that, it has built, or it has, accomplished me something, which I was not able to do in my 37 years of my life. Means, I have achieved good things in my life. I was able to become a pharmacist. I was able to go to London. I was able to come to United States and become a pharmacist. But that focus and concentration was not there, which is now present now. And it is because of meditation that I'm able to have that clarity, the focus, and the intuitiveness that, this is what I wanted to do in my life.
A
Because,
clear,
most of the
a clear focus.
clear focus and clear direction, you can say. Because, we get all lost in, okay, what should I do in my life? Like, when you are young, around 15 or 16, you don't know what you want, out of your life. Now you are in this planet. You never decided that I wanted to be in this planet, but now you are born, you are 15 and 16. You don't know, what you wanted to do in your life. You are lost, and you are kind of struggling because, it happened to me when I was 15 or 16. I don't know what I wanted to do. And it happens with so many people. It's not me. It happens with, many, many people. And there are so many people, in spite of, they becomes older, they are struggling in their life because they don't know what they want out of your life. So what meditation does, it makes your mind clear, it gives you a direction, and you are able to think and, act the way you wanted to act.
So, in the starting, when you mentioned about how did you overcome the challenges and everything, I was thinking that a lot of people have this in mind because people are really skeptical today. Whenever they
Yes.
try to do some small or even some practices, they try to, which is related to health or such a big thing. And meditation is really hyped. as a concept right now all around the world. I think before in 2000 it was not that much. As you know, it has grown exponentially in the US and all the place. And so could you explain the scientific evidence that supports the benefits of meditation for mental health and well-being? You mentioned about yourself, but what is the scientific explanation and benefits that are supported?
Definitely. So, when I started doing my meditation, I was able to feel, calmer and more relaxed. So I wanted to find the scientific reason, what is happening inside me. And I was able to find, there are a lot of explanation, but the first scientific explanation is given by Sarah Lazar. She is a neuroscientist in Harvard Medical School. She was also skeptical about, meditation, how it is going to make her, calmer, relaxed, and more compassionate. Because, it's about, sitting for 10 or 15 minutes and how it is going to change your brain. And to change your brain is the way that you can change your life. Because, brain is the, you can say the apparatus or the mind, which is, going to change. We think, we behave, we act through our mind or through our brain. So what she found out that 8 weeks of meditation decreases the electrical activity in the amygdala.
Can you
And
simplify it?
Yeah, amygdala is an almond-shaped structure which is responsible for your emotion, or it is also called the fight or flight response. So when the electrical activity in the amygdala decreases, it correlates to your less anxiety, worry, and making you more calmer. And what was more astonishing is that 8 weeks of meditation, decreases the size and volume of the amygdala at the same time. Once the size and volume of the amygdala decreases, you become less fearful in spite of living in that same kind of environment. So you can see that, only 8 weeks of meditation is changing a part in your brain, which is something which is remarkable. The second point is when you are in a depressed state or when you are anxious and you are living in that state for a longer period of time, what happens? There is a structure called hippocampus, which is responsible for learning and memory. So it is correlated to the number of years you are depressed or anxious. So what meditation does, that it increases the thickness and density in the right and the left hippocampus so that you are able to retain, a lot of memory. Because when you are depressed, what happens? You are not able to think clearly. You are not able to, retain all the memory. So when the structure, hippocampus, density and volume increases, you are able to, retain a lot of information, which is, what we needed. And the third thing is our brain is divided into two hemispheres, left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere people are more logical, rational, and analytical. It means they are good at math and science. And the right hemisphere people, they are more good at imagination, intuitive. So they are more good at arts and philosophy. And what meditation does, it increases the thickness or the joining between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, which is called the corpus callosum. And when this thickness increases, it connects both your hemisphere is well connected. So it means your clarity, thinking, your focus, all improves. Like people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, they are whole brainers. So they are able to, use both sides of brains. And any, individual, they are able to use either left brain or the right brain. So it's all about, doing the meditation and, having a clarity and focus and using both sides of the brain. So these are the three scientific things which has been proven. And there are a lot of other things at the same time, like, meditation increases the endorphins, dopamine, serotonin in your brain. You
Balance,
know, yeah,
balancing.
it balances it, or it increases the serotonin and dopamine, making you more happier. Meditators sleep like logs, like, they don't have any problem sleeping, because, now it's kind of a pandemic. People are not able to sleep in North America or Europe. It's kind of a thing which is, so huge that people have to take medicine to go to sleep. And it's such a easy thing that if you are, meditating, once or twice a day, just for 10 minutes, you are able to, sleep so easily.
Just like you mentioned, even just 10 minutes of meditation or 15 minutes of meditation can do so many wonders. And if somebody can do it for 30 minutes, I'm not even saying an hour, but 30 minutes of a busy day, it's tremendous. You can just do it after bath or maybe before sleeping. Some people can do it also. It's not like you can do it almost any time. That's the good part of it, you know. But the best time is to do it in a bit early morning when there's no rush, no sound, it's a bit calm, the environment is. But, I was thinking about it that as you're both a pharmacist and a medicine, like a meditation practitioner now, like in a way, how do you see the intersection between the Western medicine and the Eastern practices? You mentioned about the sleep medicine right now and all the things that are like modern because you're a pharmacist. And how do these medicines and these practices, because you're a scientific person, you go on the logic and the science behind it. These are practices, and there are great medicines that are built by excellent people, excellent researchers, millions of dollars of investing, and they have studied the human body. And these small medicines are made pretty carefully for the brain to act in a certain way. So how do you differ between them, like meditation, mindfulness, between the Eastern practices and the Western medicine?
There is a lot of difference, like if the Eastern philosophy is more inclined to do meditation, or, more inclined to do natural things. Western culture is more inclined to, taking a pill and solving the issue. They don't want to, indulge in doing some kind of activity which is, going to, change your brain, or, which is going to help you in the sleep. I'm not saying that, every population is that, but most of the people, you can say, they want a quick fix. And I don't say that, medicine is not good. You have to take it, when you needed it. But again, it's like, putting a band-aid in a problem. You're not able to, solve that problem. We wanted to, solve the problem completely. If somebody is anxious or depressed, like, you can take a tablet to, have that anxiety, removed, or, help you with, depression or anxiety. But again, it doesn't solve the issue. So what is the way that we can solve that issue completely so that they don't have to face in their life? So that is the reason, you have to come into play about meditation and about, Eastern philosophy, which has been practiced for, such long period. Because, there is scientific explanation, and that's the reason it is catching up in the Western culture, that, there is so much scientific explanation. And why should not we try it? It's all about, trying it and learning from it. And I do believe why people are not so inclined, because, meditation, you cannot measure it. It's like, going to the gym. Like, when you go to the gym, you cannot, you do, dumbbells or whatever. You cannot see the changes in a day or two, or even in 7 or 10 days. You have to keep going it, 4 or 5 times a week. And in a month or 2 or, 6 months, you will see that your biceps are growing. Same thing with meditation. You cannot see the changes in 1 or 2 days or 10 days. But when you are doing it for 4 or 6 weeks, then you will start seeing the changes. And that is what happened to me, because I don't have any choice. I thought, okay, let me set it. And, when I start working on it, I was becoming more calmer, because I can only feel it. I cannot measure it. So that led me to do more. And when people wanted to do it and they can see the benefit by themselves, then only, they will be more inclined to it.
So how does, like you mentioned about the meditation, there's a different kind of variations to it these days. They have developed it a lot in the States and also in India, the different kind, like the way you do it is there, but there are some different methods to do certain some for meditation. So you mentioned, like when I was reading about you, and as our listeners also were, about vibrational meditation. And how does vibrational meditation differ from other types of meditation? And what inspired you to create an app for specifically for this technique?
So, I'm a self-taught meditator. I haven't learned from anybody. So I like to experiment with different things. So, what is vibrational meditation? So, vibrational meditation is that you will keep the phone in the palm of your hand and you can have the headphones. So, there is an audio frequency from 396 hertz to 963 hertz, which is related to root chakra, to the crown chakra. Those are the frequencies. And the vibrational frequency, which is from the palm of the hand, which is from 100 to 250 hertz. And this has been, proved by a scientist named Dan Hewer. He's also a neuroscientist, and he figured out that, the optimum vibration, which is good for the brain, is 250 hertz. So what happens when you are, keeping the phone in our hand, that, you are getting those vibration directed to your brains so that you can concentrate more. So what we are saying is, with the use of audio frequency and the vibrational frequency which is coming from your hand, it will enhance your meditation. Because there are people who are not able to focus and concentrate, it will give you an added advantage.
So what inspired you to create an app for this? Because you discovered this technique, you thought, okay, this is something pretty, you know, uh, working method. But why did you decide you have to create app? What inspired you to create app? Because you were not a technical person, either you're like from a technical background. I see you're a pharmacist to this app. This is such a, what inspired you to do that?
Again, it's a very good question. So when I was struggling in my life, I did not know what to do. I was lost. Like it was it was something which I don't have any control, and I don't know, how should I change my life. And it took me, 2 or 3 years to, completely change my life upside down. And once I was able to do it, I thought of, okay, how can I help more people? Because, that is the ultimate goal. I have learned it. I don't want to keep it to myself only. There are so many people who are struggling. I wanted to give a clear-cut roadmap. Okay, if you can do these things, it is going to change your life in 2 to 6 months or lesser than that, rather than, struggling like me for 3 years. So I wrote my first book, which is called The Man with Zero Talent. And it's all about coming out from negativity to positivity. And once you are able to come out to positivity, how to become a better version of yourself. Because, the ultimate goal of every human being is to become happy, healthy, and successful. So once I have written that book, I thought, okay, how can I reach more people? So the app is an extension of my book so that I can reach more people and they can benefit from this free app because there is no charge. Anybody can download it from anywhere in the world, from Google or App Play Store.
So, ironically, my next question was actually about the book, actually. So, your book, The Man with the Zero Talent, which, you're author too, offers readers a journey of self-discovery. And as you mentioned, how to come out of the negative state, so like a self-discovery of themselves. And can you share some key techniques of practice that readers can implement in lives to become their highest selves?
So there are four techniques or there are four steps, any reader, listeners can take to make themselves, better or to progress in their life. So the first one I will say is, set up a goal. It can be, a small goal or a big goal, because, when I started my journey, I don't know what I wanted to do, but I set up a goal that I wanted to become a speaker. I don't know how, but that was my wildest dream. So I will tell your listeners to, set up a goal, whatever it is. It might be a small thing like, I wanted to, you know, go for a jogging the next day, or I wanted to wake up at 5 o'clock. Set small goals, because that will propel you to be on a positive side. Because when you are setting goals, you cannot be in a negative state of the mind. When you are pursuing something, you are pumped up, you wanted to accomplish something. So that is the first thing which any users can do it, and you don't have to worry about how I am going to achieve it. That is very secondary. Just set up a goal, write it down if you wanted to write it down in your journal, so that it becomes tangible. You can see that goal, as many times as you wanted to see in your life. The second thing is, improve your self-talk. We talk very negatively with us. Oh, I cannot do it. I have anxiety. I'm from middle class people. So, these negative talks, hampers our growth so much. So that rather than saying that, you have anxiety or you are middle class, use some positive, affirmation. So, the three techniques which you can use is, either affirmation that I'm becoming better. I used to repeat the word that, I am the best speaker in the world, in spite of, not becoming a speaker. Because, that is reinforcing myself, and I'm changing my subconscious mind.
Programming it.
Yeah, changing or programming the subconscious mind. And or use visualization technique, that you are visualizing that you are becoming the person you wanted to become in your life. Or you can use mantra, whichever suits you, because every human being has to find a balance. Okay, what is helping me and what I can implement in my daily routine. So self-talk is the second thing, and there are so many examples. Like if you take the example of Muhammad Ali, he is the greatest boxer, but before even he become the greater boxer, he used to tell himself, I am the greatest boxer in the world. So what he was able to do is, by repeating it so many times, he was able to change his subconscious mind, and the rest is history.
You
So,
know, as you
yep.
mentioned, the same thing, when someone's asking Cristiano Ronaldo, the footballer, this really famous, and he asking, who's the best footballer in the world? And he said, it's me. And some people thought it's a really egoistic statement, but he just stated again that if I don't call myself the best, then I cannot be the best. I have to keep saying that I am. Even if I'm not I am. That this affirmation is really important to make yourself like. And this is not an egoistic statement. It's just that if I am the best, I have to think like a best, like high self. And when you call yourself the best speaker, keep calling it. From inside, the wise comes that I also have to be now. I have to improve more to stay that in position of the best speaker in the world, because in that mind it just keeps going on, and I think it's pretty scientific, and I think affirmations do work, but people kind of, as I said, they're skeptical, so they kind of have always doubts over that it doesn't work or whatnot, even meditation. And as we are mentioning, I would just diverse the topic a bit. You know, in your opinion, what is the most common misconception about meditation, and how do you address them? Because I think there are a lot of misconceptions also that have developed over the years. Like, sort of, a lot of people don't like, especially specifically the youngsters. I think the adults, like in your age, they do go into it easily, but the youngsters are really skeptical, especially in the States. What is the thing that is stopping them? And also with that, what advice would you give to some beginners who are interested in incorporating meditation into their daily lives and routine, but don't know where to start?
Again, it's a very good question. Like the younger generation, the attention span is very less. And you can blame it to the technology. Technology is good at the same time, but it has disadvantage at the same time. We are so inclined to checking our phones in you know in such less intervals. We check our phones every 5 minutes, that what we are getting in the text, what is the emails. So you can say there are things which are distracting to in a natural environment. And why the younger generation is not inclined, again, I can give you three factors. Like, it can be implied to all of them, but these three generation, younger generation. The first is our brain wants pleasure at all the time. It doesn't want it to do anything which is hard. If I say you, Miklesh, you have to work for 6 months or 1 year to accomplish this goal, you will say, oh no, who is going to wait for that long? We want instant gratification. So by default, our brain is made to have pleasure all the time. And it comes to a point, it becomes hedonic pleasure, that you want pleasure, all the time. So that is the reason the younger generation is not able to indulge in meditation or any of these activities, because they don't want it to do it and they don't know how to do it at the same time. The second is our brain, as you know, that it's a 3 pound mass of jelly, which weighs 2 pounds of our body weight, yet it consumes 20 to 25% of the energy. And our brains are very lazy. It doesn't want it to do, anything which is hard. The brain tells us, okay, anything which is hard, don't try it. And meditation is one of the things which is hard. Seems simple, and it is simple once you are experienced. But for the beginners, it is hard. And every new thing we start learning it is hard. Why it is hard? Our brain has 86 billions to 100 billions neurons in our brain. How learning take place? That when one neuron joins to the other neuron, there is a synaptic connection. And when this synaptic connection, become longer and longer, you start learning the things. That is the learning process. And once this chain has become long enough, there is a myelinated sheet over that. So you have become, like trained or experienced in that activity. And it can be any activity. To be a musician, you cannot become a musician in one day, or you cannot become a cricketer in one day. You have to practice the same shot again and again, and then only you can become, an expert in that field. Same thing with meditation. You don't know meditation, you have to sit it for, 10 or 15 minutes, and you have to have that connection. And once you are able to, have that, chain of myelin seed, then only you can, learn and progress in your life. So again, it's a process, it takes time. And that is the reason, the younger generation is not willing to devote that much of time and energy in learning something new. Does it, resonate with what I'm saying?
So you mentioned about that. That is true. I think people are. I think you meant the. It's all the time. It's like instant pleasure. It's not even all the time. It's like like if you look at anything, you look at the apps or anything. Like these days, how the apps are designed, the modern all applications that are really popular. I don't name them, but streaming apps, music apps. But as you open them, there's something that should trigger your dopamine, trigger your chemicals reaction in your brain, and that's how the people sitting there in the company, the multi-billion-dollar companies in Silicon Valley, they are really like, I would say, better than the brain doctors. They have like maybe they hire doctors to just make these screens so attractive that as you open them, there should be some. That's why they're so addictive. Look at YouTube, for example. Maybe it's so addictive, and I think it's a good thing also because, as I said, internet has its own perks and also as well. But we should know the limits, and it's not like even if YouTube is addictive, we could reduce it if we want to. But how is the question? And that's the same with meditation. It can help you, but how is the question? And you don't need to focus on the how. first of all, it's pointless to focus on that. Just start doing it. When you go to gym, you know what's going to be the result. You say, you know the results that's going to come with meditation. That's okay, it's going to reduce my anxiety, my this and that. Same with the gym. But do you expect it to be happening in one day? No. You should keep focusing and focusing, and overnight it doesn't happen, but slowly, slowly you would start to see the changes. It happens. And as our podcast is really focused on the spiritual, as you know, aspect of things, meditation has often been considered a lot as a spiritual practice as well, which is a misconception again. It is a mixture of both, I believe. It is also a normal practice as normal, but it also has its spiritual things related to it, like a mantra chanting or doing. Some people I know do meditation with crystals, if you know. So some people do it like that. And you mentioned the vibrations. So there are different kind of methods. But how do you, like, because you are a spiritual person, which I can understand, how do you, or someone who's listening to us who is a bit spiritual, because our podcast listeners are on the spiritual side, how do you balance the practical benefits of meditation, such as stress reduction, with the more spiritual aspect of the practice? How do you balance it?
Again, it's a choice of the users, how they wanted to do it in their life, because when you are implementing the spiritual part in meditation, that is definitely going to give you much more benefit. Again, that is my opinion, because I try to, connect both the meditation and spirituality together, because definitely there is something, bigger than ourselves. We cannot say that, I know everything. There is definitely, God, there are definitely higher powers. As you know, my background is from Eastern culture, definitely we have so many gods. And, people in Western culture also believe in, Christianity or, whatever culture they are believing in. So definitely, there is something which existed. Now, you can believe it or you cannot believe it. The choice is up to you. But, there are so many things which is so much, unnatural in this environment. Like, we are all here, we don't know how this planet originated, who is the first, person, and there are so much evolution which has happened for millions of years. And we have to definitely believe that, there is something which is supernatural, which is helping us to grow and evolve. And when you have that belief, then it makes it easier, because you cannot connect all the dots, how this, planet came, why this thing is happening. And the beauty of this, when a sperm and an egg, joins, a baby is created. It seems simple, but, it's not that simple.
Very complex process.
Yeah, it's a complex process, but, these things happen. How this happened, again, scientists has, proven everything, and we can have, like a baby from embryo as well. But these are the things which, if you think about, is kind of complicated, how it is originated. And I definitely believe that, there is something which is guiding us. And if you're able to connect both the pieces together with meditation, I think it will give you a different perspective of life, because then you know that, you have to be doing the things which is right.
So back to the aspect which I was mentioning, because our podcast is more focused on spirituality, but a lot of people who are atheists who also listen to our podcast, as I mentioned, there's a big misconception that meditation or even yoga is a spiritual thing. It's related to some Hinduism or some Buddhism religion. It's not. It's trying to promote these religions, but absolutely hideous and untrue. So please bunk that myth and also tell us why meditation is spiritual practice, but it is not a spiritual practice in a way. That means it is not connected or trying to promote any religion. It's more than that. So please, I think because you have a pharmaceutical background with the science and you've gone deep into it, so only you can explain to us the things about it.
So what is basically meditation is a mindful concentration on an object, place, thing, or just on your breath. And why breath? Because, that is readily available to you all the time. So, you can say meditation is a form of mental exercise tailored specifically for your brain. Now, if you wanted to connect it to the spirituality part, that if you are implementing in your practice something spiritual at the same time when you are meditating, it combines both the things. But if you don't want to combine spirituality with meditation, you can keep it separate. It has nothing to do with religion, because what meditation is doing, it is increasing your focus and concentration. Because as you know that we go through 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of these thoughts are negative.
Useless.
Useless, negative, it's the repeating thoughts. And, most of these thoughts, make you restless and, anxious. So this meditation, what is doing, it is controlling your restless mind, because, restless mind is compared to a drunken monkey who is jumping from, one place to the other place without any purpose. So same thing with our restless mind. It's jumping from one thought to other thought. We don't know why that thought is coming also. It happens with me also. I don't know, one moment I have this thought, the next moment it's a different thought. Where the thought is coming, we don't know it. And, I don't know, if I go deeper into that, if you have read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he told that, like the thoughts, we don't have a control over thoughts. It's like, in the ether, you get all kind of thoughts, and you transmit thoughts at the same time. So it's up to you, whether I wanted to give energy to any thought or not. The choice is up to me. If I'm giving, energy to any particular thought, like, I started giving energy to a thought like, okay, I wanted to become a speaker. Then all the energy is going in that process rather than thinking into something negative. Because at the end of the day, and everything is energy and matter. Wherever you will focus and, put your energy and concentration, it is going to increase. It can be a negative thought. It can be a positive thought. When I started changing my life, I started giving energy to the positive thoughts. Okay, these are the things which I wanted to improve in my life. And, once you start, putting more positive energy, it starts growing. So what meditation is doing is that it is going to increase your focus and concentration. You are able to channel your energy to a thought which you wanted to give, particular attention, rather than, going in negativity, because you are able to manage your thought process. There are different thoughts which is coming, but you are giving only energy to the thoughts which is positive.
Yeah. It is like I'm having multiple thoughts, but I have now decided only this thought I'm going to distribute my whole energy and focus on. Maybe this breath or this feeling, this mantra or this deity, whatever like the aspect I want to do. Be it spiritual or non-spiritual. While it could have the both aspects. I think meditation is the only thing that is so universal. The concept is so beautiful. I think it, as you mentioned, that's why it's not related to any religion. It is just a myth. But you can do is that as a spiritual practice if you're any Christian or something, and you can also do it if you're atheist as to increase your concentration. And a lot of big people do it. A lot of scientists who are really logical, and a lot of big businessmen who maybe do not believe in God, and people who believe in God also do it. But it's again a little bit of, when you dig deeper into it, you will understand the concept. But you are so scared and afraid because you have heard the myths so much, as that our mind is really negative. So, well, we hear through things and we make a judgment about it these days. Like, yeah, it's like that. So a lot of people, I would like to tell our listeners that Sanjeev is also a musician. Like, he also creates music. So yeah, you are really multi-talented, that we can see. So you're not really a pharmacist, to be honest, but your music also reflects the same philosophy and zest of life found in your book, maybe sometimes, I think. So how do you use music as a tool for promoting spiritual growth and healing? Please explain to us.
So I am more into, positive things in my life. And again, it's by chance that, I stumble about music. Means I did definitely learn, music when I was in school. But, when in 2018 or 19, when I am self-transforming myself, like I changed myself. And, as I told you that, meditation opens the doors for many things in your life. You never expected that these things are going to happen. You never plan it. But I was going through so many changes, and I write songs which is related to my own philosophy. I write songs which is inspirational, because that is my ultimate goal, to inspire people that you can do bigger things in your life. My first song was Rise from the Ashes, and it's a story of my journey, how I was able to rise from the ashes. And I don't know, I have written 20 songs by now, which I never thought that I can write it. And, the few lines from the Rise from the Ashes is, I will rise from the ashes. It's a challenge that I will rise from the ashes. So, it's a very beautiful song. And the whole concept is every human being in this planet has the ability, and that is within him, that he can do bigger things in their life.
So,
And yes.
how do you approach the creative process of writing music and lyrics that align with your spiritual beliefs and message? How do you approach the creative process? Because you mentioned that how did you still don't know, but still when you write it, how do you connect and like approach the process?
Again, it's a very good question. Like, how should we connect it? Thoughts come to my mind. I will have few lines which will come to me. I will sit in my laptop, I will start writing it, and I will write, 10 or 12 lines, and then, I will work on those 12 lines and, make it good. So, I usually write my songs in one day. And, I have to be in a state which I am, calm and relaxed. I'm not in a state of worries. Nothing is bothering me. And, I will just sit down, write the song. I will go back to the song and see, if it is aligning with, what I wanted to say in this song. And once I have written the song, I do have a musician, who, make music and who sings for me. And, once they have, like sang that song, the music is ready, they will send it to me. If I like them, I will tell them, okay, this is what I like. If I don't like that, I will say them, this is not, what I'm looking for. And recently I sang a song by myself also. So again, that was a challenge, and, I wanted to try something different. So my first song, which I have, sang the vocals, is coming this month, and I'm kind of excited about that song. So all my songs pertains to self-improvement, pertains to motivate the listeners, and the spirituality part comes because, it's all about, inspiring the other people to do, better in their life. That is the whole connection, and that is the message which I wanted to convey to your listeners, and to anybody, who wanted to listen to our podcast, that, that you can do bigger things in your life. If I can do, the man with zero talent can do so many things, there is, so much possibility in your life, and, sky is the limit for you. I'm a very ordinary person. I did not have any skills when I was growing up. I was very average. But I have taken some measures which has transformed my life. And you can also, try these, steps, and which will transfer your life at the same time. Because, there is scientific explanation that meditation, makes you a whole brainer. You are able to think clearly. You can implement exercise, which is, definitely, there are so many articles related exercise, how it is transforming or changing your brain. And I do cold showers, which is again which refreshes my mind. And there are scientific reasons, what it is changing in your brain. So there are, habits which is changing my life. And in spite of, some of the days I don't feel, positive, these habits, transform my life, and it puts me in a state which is kind of positive most of the time.
I think which you mentioned about the cold shower is a pretty important thing because I think hot shower is really not good for your body. I think a lot of people are doing it mistakenly, but I think it has many disadvantages and it's not really healthy. So you should obviously adopt for a cold shower all the time you can, unless you're living in Antarctica or something. It's absolutely really cold, but unless you should always try to go for a cold shower that you can, or like a medium, but absolutely not really hot, and never put hot water on your head. Because it's proven now, if it's absolutely dangerous for your brain. Because you're pharmacist, you know how dangerous to put really hot water on the head. Yeah, on the body, you can put a lukewarm water. It's really good for someone who has a fever, they claim it's absolutely really good at put on the heart side medically. But on the head, it's absolutely forbidden to do it. And people do it every day. And it's really dangerous, that. And, I was thinking that coming from India, I think one thing that we all know, and even the US, stories do play a big role in your work. Stories. How do you, what role do stories play in your work and teachings, and how do you incorporate storytelling into your meditation practice, and why is it even important?
Again, when you wanted to connect with any people, if you are able to relate your story, because people are interested in knowing your story. If you can tell just about meditation, people are not going to listen to you. Okay, I'm talking about only about meditation. But if I can, connect meditation with my story, what was happening to me, how I was struggling in my life, and how meditation changed my life, then people are more interested. Because again, our attention span is so less that we cannot concentrate for more than 10 or 15 minutes. But if I'm telling in a story way, people gets, engaged more. They are able to listen to me, they are interested in my story. Oh, I came from a, Eastern culture, and I'm living in a Western, environment now, and what I have done, and and what are the changes which is happening inside me. And if I can give a scientific explanation, it's the complete package you have to give to the audience. And it can be, people living in any part of the world. They wanted to listen to a good story, they wanted to listen to a story which is engaging, and they wanted to see triumph at the end of the story. Because if there is no triumph at the end of the story, nobody wants it to listen. Because, okay, you have done these things, and this is the benefit you are getting at the end of the day. Then people wanted to listen to you, they wanted to engage with you, and they wanted to try the things which you have tried in your life.
So, you know, you have lived in 3 countries, born in India, lived there whole your like teenage and your childhood, then UK for 5 years, not a small time, again a half a decade, if I have to say, then since then in the US. How has living in 3 different parts of the world, including the US, UK, and the US, UK and the US, influenced your perspective on spirituality and meditation, and overall the perspective on life in 3 different places, 3 different cultures? How did it influence
Yes, just to mention that I went to Africa also for a few days. So
you? Has it?
I
Is it
have a
something that you haven't done in your life, Sanjeev? You
Miklesh, I was a person who was very scared to do anything new. That is how I was till 37 years of age. Anything new, I did not try it. I only tried what is necessary, what I have to do, I did it. But now I try everything because I'm not scared of failing. What will happen? I will fail. I went to Africa to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and I'm scared of heights. I went there to conquer my fear of heights. Can I do it? And I was able to reach, 90% of the mountain. I was not able to reach the highest peak, but that was an achievement for me. I was able to conquer my fear that yes, I can, climb a mountain if I practice a little bit more. So there is a lot of transformation which has happened, and how it has changed my perspective. Like, living in India, moving to London, coming to United States, that people in general are more than willing to help you. People are good, it can be, India, it can be London, it can be, United States, it can be Africa. But everybody has a different, mindset. How they think is different. Indian people, because they are raised in a different environment, their mindset is different. They are more inclined to, studies and, having a good job. That is the environment we live in. But if you see in the United States, they are not so much inclined into studies from the early childhood. They are more inclined to, having sports as their first thing. So, there is a different perspective, growing in different environment. And people think in the different way at the same time. Like if you see the Eastern, philosophy, we are more into saving and, saving the money for the future. We do everything for the future so that, our kids live a life which is, happy and healthy. We sacrifice our life. That is the Eastern, philosophy. But in Western culture, they enjoy their life. They think, okay, it is the responsibility of the, kid to make his own life. Once they are 18, it is their responsibility. Now, I'm not saying that, this is good or, the other one is good. But what I'm trying to say is, the concept and the philosophy or the perspective of life is different. And when you are going to different places, you learn so much things from other people at the same time, rather than when you are, living in one environment. Then your thinking, your perspective, your horizons improve. And then only you can, do bigger things in your life, because when you can think from every perspective of your life.
So, as you mentioned, I think it's pretty excellent. I mean, the way you explain it. Yes, I think the culture of saving is pretty in the Asian part. Whenever you go in China, India, there's a lot of saving culture. In the US, yeah, if you're 18 now, yeah, they make you the study and degree. Now you out. You just got to be on yourself. And is it good or bad? It's depending on the perspective. But I think the culture that the saving culture has worked for India and China pretty well. But compared to the culture which the US has worked all right for them as well. So I think it just depends on their, because as you mentioned, the thinking is different. There, people are more focused on the child, not on the study, but on the sports or the creative aspect. A lot on the creative aspect. Here, it's absolutely different. Here, people are not focused on creative, but more on the traditional studies and approach, getting a stability in life, just like what you did for your whole life, a stability that I want this stability in my life, that nothing and if it's good or bad is a question, but it has worked. But I think taking risk is such a thing in the states that I've looked at. People do take a more risk, I think, because they are not really afraid. And here, I think the parents teach their kids to not take risk in India and in the parts of Asia for some reason, which they should encourage them to take risk and tell them that yeah, if you're gonna just fail. It's not going to be that bad. In the US, they tell it, but in the India or in the China, they don't tell the kids, which is I think a fundamental problem. But I think that's being addressed now with the kids being more modern. Technology and everything is advancing. The perspective is changing, which is really great. And India is growing at a really, rapidly pace today. It is great, and even China, what it has become a superpower now. But that's what I think, and I think being in those three places with meeting so many people gives you so much insight and experience of life at such a different place. I think it's meant to be shocking for you when you went for 5 years in UK, but everything was so different. But still, you have the that, and I think yeah, that's one thing. I think one thing people should realize that no matter where you go, you will find nice people. You will surely get help. It could be in a different approach, but you will do get nice people and meet nice people, but it's also there. So, finally looking to the future, what do you hope to achieve through your work in the field of meditation and wellness?
So, what I wanted to convey the message is that you have to do something in your life or some kind of practice, you have to implement in your life. It can be, meditation, it can be yoga, whatever you feel comfortable, because our mind are very powerful, but it is very restless at the same time. And if you are not able to tame this mind, it is going to make your life, like a monster living in this planet. So, whatever you wanted to implement in your life, you have to do a certain point. It happens mostly at the, mid-age crisis, from 35 to 45, that, people struggle more rather than, when people are younger, because they are more impulsive. When you are 16 and 20, you are impulsive, you will conquer the world, you will do bigger things. But by the time you reach 30, okay, your resources are limited, you're not able to accomplish what you wanted to do. There can be, financial issues, there can be, marriage issue, or there can be health issues. So whatever the issue is, you cannot control this restless mind. And, that is the reason you have to implement something in your life which is going to give, calmness and equanimity in your life.
So finally, I think my last question, whoever is listening to us till now, it's been like an hour we've been talking and things. Great insights from you, Sanjeev. So, what advice would you finally, or message would you like to leave with our listeners today who are still listening to us right now with all the patience? What will be that final advice or message would you like to give to our listeners today?
This is the thing which I tell to everyone, even, myself, my friends, my son as well, that work on yourself. It means, try to, improve yourself. It can be, your health. It can be your, goals and dreams. It can be, about, having a good career. When you are working on yourself, you are trying to improve yourself in some way rather than, sitting in the couch and not doing anything. Take something which according to your standards is worthy and keep working on that. Don't wait for, one fine day that, I will pursue my goal or dream. If you wanted to do something, start it from today and keep working on it, slowly and consistently. And over a course of period, maybe in, 10 or 15 years or 5 years, you will be able to see that you have grown so much. When I started my journey, 5 years back, I never thought that I can reach this point. But slowly and consistently, I was able to come to this point. And I can definitely say that, there is a quote, something like that, what you sow is what you reap. If you are seeing, sowing good seeds today, or if you are working towards yourself, you are definitely going to reap the benefits at some point in your life.
But do not expect it. Just keep on working is something I think people should understand.
Yes. So keep working on it and, see the changes. Because, 20 years down the lane, when I'm 70, you will not be disappointed by the things which you did. But you will be definitely disappointed. Oh, I should have done that, when I was younger. That is the philosophy I wanted to live, that, I wanted to try everything what I wanted to try, in spite of it might not be as good as I wanted, but I tried.
The way you mentioned, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. So he was at a event, if I'm not sure if in India or somewhere, but someone, he was telling to the people there. I think it was somewhere he was doing the interview. He said that I was working as like a president in a big bank in America, president, which is a big post, in the States in a bank. He's earning pretty good. So during the almost before the dot-com bubble and all everything, he had the idea of Amazon that he wanted to do. And he said, I'm going to quit this job for high paying president of a bank and purpose, which he has worked through years to get and achieve, and start like an online store. And he was a colleague of him. who told him that, Jeff, you can do this all later on. I mean, you're such a big post that you worked for years to achieve now. You're going to leave that for such a small thing. He said to him, that Jeff said that, I don't want 20 years down the line, that sitting there at 20 years down the line, I'll think about that if I had the opportunity, why didn't I do it? And I want to leave this message, he said, to everybody here, all the youngsters, that whatever you want to do it. Because if you don't do it in 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you're going to feel that, how I got that idea, but then why didn't you do it? You're going to feel really bad that all paths were open. Why didn't you take the path? And always take the path unknown that you really want to take. Do not fear, take it and see where it takes you. But if you do not take it, you will always have the regret in your mind that why I had the opportunity, why didn't I take it? What could have been the result? What could have been, he said, this is the big question which will haunt you all your life. And that's what you mentioned. I think it's pretty important. But I think people, as I said, have to become more risk-taking and not fear that much, but also being calculated. I think it's a pretty good thing. It's not that you just go blindly. Take a calculated risk. Be like a wise businessman or wise person. And as for that, you need to work on yourself. Improving on yourself is going to grant you that insight. So I think thank you so much for joining us on the show, Sanjeev. Your insights were incredibly valuable, I would say, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with our listeners. And I think our listeners are flattered with you coming, and it was great having you. And your story is so amazing and inspiring, I would say. And yeah, I would say so. Thank you so much for joining the show, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Mikhilesh, for inviting me in your podcast. I think, your users might be able to take at least few points and they will be able to implement, something in their life will change the trajectory of their life. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Spirituality with a Twist today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained some valuable insights from it. As we wrap up, remember that spirituality and philosophy and science are not separate entities, but rather interconnected aspects of our search for deeper understanding. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and always trust your inner wisdom. And if you want to support the show and buy me a coffee, you can find the link in the description down below. Also, don't forget to connect with me on my social media. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, where I share reels and behind-the-scenes content from the podcast. I love to hear your thoughts and feedback on today's episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. And you can also watch the audio version of the show on your favorite podcast platform. So once again, thank you for joining us today. And remember to keep seeking the truth, wherever it may lead you. See you next time.